The midnight darkness of the Walmart parking lot felt like a scene from a horror movie when Tom and his wife Sarah found her mother unconscious in her car, teetering on the edge of death. The 58-year-old diabetic woman who had spent years terrorizing her family was now facing the consequences of a lifetime of self-destruction and toxic behavior. Sarah's mother-in-law had been living with her own mother for a decade, but when Grandma developed Alzheimer's 2 years ago, everything spiraled out of control. The family had made it clear. Since she lived with Grandma, she needed to take responsibility for her care. But responsibility was never something this woman embraced. Instead of stepping up, she let her mother with dementia drive alone, resulting in terrifying calls from police in different towns when Grandma got lost and confused. The breaking point came when Sarah's sister took legal action, obtaining guardianship of Grandma and placing her in a memory care facility despite her daughter's furious protests. To pay for the specialized care, the family home had to be sold, leaving Sarah's mother-in-law homeless and enraged. Her response was typical pure manipulation and drama. She refused to leave the house until an eviction order forced her hand, then disappeared for 4 days, living in her car like a martyr. When they found her that night in the parking lot, her phone dead, her car dead, her blood sugar dangerously high, it was clear she'd orchestrated this crisis to guilt the family into rescuing her. The hospital visit revealed the full extent of her self-imposed medical emergency, but it also provided an opportunity. While she was receiving care, Tom mobilized the family to clear out her belongings from the house, moving everything to her brother's place, the only relative still willing to enable her behavior. But this wasn't her first rodeo. In the past 3 years alone, she had been hospitalized 18 times, with 3 visits in 2025 already. Her latest admission showed a blood sugar level of 870, diabetic ketoacidosis, and evidence of 2 recent strokes. All preventable with proper self-care she repeatedly refused to pursue. The pressure campaign began immediately. Sarah's uncle, her sister, hospital staff, and Adult Protective Services launched a coordinated assault on Sarah and Tom's boundaries, demanding they take legal guardianship and move this destructive woman into their home. The manipulation was relentless. Phone calls, guilt trips, accusations of abandonment, and emotional blackmail designed to break their resolve. Sarah, who had endured a childhood of emotional and psychological abuse from this woman, was being pressured to invite her abuser back into her life. The same person who had made her childhood a nightmare was now being presented as a victim deserving of rescue and care. The final confrontation came during what should have been a simple hospital visit to bring discharge clothes. Instead of gratitude, Sarah's mother launched into a vicious attack, claiming they had never helped her, and playing the victim once again. Tom's response was swift and definitive. He told her never to speak to his wife that way again, that she was living with the consequences of being a horrible person, and that they wouldn't be hearing from her anymore. 2 days later, the call they'd been dreading arrived. The hospital declared her incompetent to care for herself, and without family intervention, she would become a ward of the state, destined for a nursing home. Sarah's uncle erupted in fury, accusing Tom and Sarah of abandonment and cruelty for refusing to take responsibility for this toxic woman. But Tom and Sarah held their ground. They understood what others couldn't or wouldn't acknowledge, that taking her in wouldn't help anyone. It would destroy their marriage, traumatize Sarah further, and enable more destructive behavior. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to participate in someone's self-destruction. The vindication came months later. After nearly 2 months in the nursing home, with regulated meals and proper medical supervision, Sarah's mother-in-law became an entirely different person. The constant medical crises stopped, her blood sugar stabilized, and for the first time in years, she wasn't in crisis mode. Even Sarah began cautiously rebuilding a relationship, taking her mother out for supervised lunches. The transformation proved what Tom and Sarah had instinctively known. This woman needed professional care, not family enablement. By refusing to be manipulated into guardianship, they had inadvertently saved her life while protecting their own sanity and marriage. What do you think, were Tom and Sarah right to refuse guardianship of an abusive family member, or should they have stepped in despite the personal cost? How do you handle pressure to care for toxic relatives who refuse to care for themselves? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below.